Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, and I'm taking care of business. Joining me today is Anne-Marie Lurie, Chief Economist of the Calgary Real Estate Board. Thanks again, Anne-Marie, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Well, let's talk about April statistics on the MLS residential market. April was a record month for an April, most sales ever, 3,401. MLS sales up 6.1% year over year. Obviously, it kind of slowed down a little bit from March because March was the record for any month of all time, but still, like, extremely healthy number, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Exceptionally strong sales continued really into this past month. And I think to a certain extent, some of the restrictions on sales and maybe why they weren't as strong was in part because we had listings pull off as well. So it's been kind of this persistent challenge. We start to see when listings rise, we see sales improve. If listings come off, it does have an impact on our sales as well.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit about the demand and why it's there. Like, I know we've talked about it in the past, that one of the things that could be driving the market right now is a fear of further interest rate hikes, which will be spending more on your mortgage. So do you think that's a key driver right now?
Yes, I mean, we have seen that rates have started to rise already. And undoubtedly that will start to cool the market, especially later on in this year. However, the rates are still really exceptionally low. And I think we are seeing a lot of people trying to get in ahead of that. And I think that still is something that's at play in our market. And keep in mind, because conditions have been so tight for so long, there's been so many buyers out there that have been wanting to get in the market but haven't necessarily found something to purchase. So we need to work through that demand as well, and I think that is an important consideration.
Yeah.
As well as the fact, even for people who have got pre-approvals, well, they might be locked in for that rate for some time, so they might not necessarily feel the immediate impact of those rising rates as well.
Let's talk listings. You mentioned 4,577 new listings in the month, down 2.1% year over year. And inventory still down to 4,850, 20% down from a year ago. We just don't have enough houses to keep up with the number that are coming off the market, I guess, right?
That's right. Yeah, that's been the challenge is just meeting that supply, especially in certain aspects of the market, like the detached market. We're seeing it impact sales. There just hasn't been a lot of listings come on, and there hasn't been a lot of inventory, especially in the lower price ranges, and that's impacting sales. So I think this has something that's weighed on our market for some time, and it's obviously a very different scenario than what we were in prior to COVID, but the challenge does continue to remain with enough supply there, and with just over 1 month of supply, it's just still a seller's market conditions.
All right, super. And prices. If you're a seller, you're cracking open the champagne and these days. So the average, not the average, but the benchmark total residential price was 526,700. I see correctly. Up 17%. Again, the price gains here are quite phenomenal, aren't they?
We've had exceptionally growth, especially in the first 4 months of this year. Like, prices continue to rise month over month, and very strong gains. And again, that's really reflective of the fact that there's just a lot more buyers out there than the supply, and that's been driving up these prices. It's why we have such strong year over year price gains. However, I want to note that the strongest price gains have really been occurring in the detached sector, semis and row as well. Apartment condos aren't quite the same type of price gain, as that market just now has seen tighter conditions.
Yeah. Okay. And remind me again, Anne-Marie, I don't have the numbers here, but the months of supply are quite low right now. Again, still, right?
Yes, they are. Yeah, we're just over 1 month. So
Yeah.
a little bit better than last month, but not much, not enough to see really any shift. And that is a really tight market, considering we traditionally see closer to 3 months.
Okay. Now we've got it, well, like one more month sort of in that spring market. What do we expect for the rest of the month of May and moving forward the rest of the year?
Well, I do think that, as rates continue to rise and we have those higher lending rates in the market, we should start to see, that pace of sales growth kind of continue to slow, maybe coming off of these record levels. I don't necessarily think that's going to happen over the next several months. I think we still have to play catch up on a lot of that demand that's in the market. And I think that, these seller market conditions are going to persist until we can see that demand starts to adjust or supply increases, which we are really not expecting at this point to happen until later on this year. So I do think that these conditions are going to continue into the next several months, but we should hopefully see things not be quite as tight as that they were over the last 2 months.
All right, super. Thanks, Anne Marie, for joining us today.
Thank you.
All right, that was Anne Marie Lurie, Chief Economist with the Calgary Real Estate Board. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, taking care of business. Thanks for joining us today.